Okay, are there any adjustments or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Chairman Sussex, I would like to make a motion to add Joshua Kroger to our agenda this evening, as he had previously asked to be put on it.
Be dependent upon your agenda item and adding that to the consent agenda and it being passed.
So I guess what are we wanting to add to the consent or to our agenda?
He had asked to be added to our agenda in adequate time to have a vote on standard-based grading being removed. So that's my motion, is to have him added to that agenda.
Okay, we are already addressing the standards-based grading in the new business, letter B. So
I just understood that to be a committee looking at other things, but had nothing to do with actually the vote on the agenda. I believe a motion was made last month on it. The motion was made, an interruption was done, and then the second did not happen. And therefore that motion did not get added to the agenda this month. And so changes were made to the motion that was actually made last month. And therefore it is not actually what was asked for in the motion. And like I said, the motion did not get a second to it because of the interruption. So policy really didn't get followed.
That's actually, you can't make a motion in part of a discussion item and in the agenda. During your discussion period, it's a time for discussion, not a time in which to add a motion for future meetings and set the agenda. In board governance, it states that the board chair sets up the agenda, but no motion then follows what's going to be.
My motion today is to add Mr. Kruger, who had asked to be on the agenda. And he would like a vote on removing standard-based grading, which is that particular thing is not on the agenda. There's a deal on the agenda to looking at other grading systems, but that does not directly address the fact that the motion was wanted to be where standard-based grading is actually voted on.
I'm going to second the motion.
So I guess we will add it to the agenda.
You'd have to have it addendum first. Okay. And then we put it on. Okay. And then I can share that.
Okay. So I'm not even. Okay.
Okay, we do have 3 items for the recommended actions on addendum. Under consent agenda, we would add F, accept Wyoming Department of Education project aware 2022 grant in the total amount of $190,154. And then in G, approve special education contract with St. Joseph's Children's Home for educational services, board and care from January 10th, 2023 through June 30th, 2023, not to exceed $92,236, general fund reimbursable special education. Then under new business, item C, agenda item standards-based grading.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have an agenda. Okay, so number 4 is introduction of 2023 student representatives of the Board of Trustees and administrate the oath of office. So. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and obey and defend the Constitution.
I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution
Of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming.
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
That I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
or appointment
or appointment
or cause it to be done by others.
or cause it to be done by others,
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
that I will discharge my duties of my office with fidelity.
Are you ready for the vote? Okay. We will now move down to letter C, information and proposals. Number 1, school presentation and artwork in the boardroom by LaGrange Elementary. So, that's by LaGrange Elementary, all the artwork. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Principal Daly, go ahead.
All right, so as you can see around the room, we have different things. The ones that have student name tags under it are from the art teacher, Mr. McGuire. Comes out on Friday afternoons to work with our students. And then others are artwork from in the classroom. They are K-6 examples of what we do at Lincoln Elementary. I wanted to start out by, we've been here every year, and I wanted to give you some updates on some of the things that are happening in our school that we've talked about in the past. One of the first things is the opportunity that we have had for the science of reading with Orton Gillingham. We're very excited about the progress that our students are making district-wide. Within collegial teams, we can see how students are really beginning to own some of the science of reading knowledge that they have learned in the classroom. It's really cool to see in my building, K-6, because I get to work with all students, how kids can grow from kindergarten knowing just the letters and some basic principles of doubling a consonant at the end of a 1-syllable short sound word to all the rules that they learned by the end of 3rd grade, and then moving into morphology in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, where they understand the root of words, where they come from and how they're spelled and the specific reasons why. It's pretty amazing. Even in 1st grade, there's some rules that I was like, wow, I didn't know that that was a specific rule. It's pretty amazing. And there are some that follow specific patterns, like the 1-syllable short vowel sound following with a specific consonant, why you double it, why you use a certain ending. It's pretty awesome. And those kids are carrying it over into their reading. It has helped their fluency and their writing. It's just really incredible to see. And so I would encourage you to come out and see student examples in any of the schools that are close to you, or come out to LaGrange Elementary. We'd love to have you anytime. and also the continued support that we've had through you guys allowing us to use district facilitators. We've had some extensive training this year as admin and facilitators with some coaching cycles. And we are using one of our representatives, Mrs. Kistler at LaGrange, to give us some specific training and coaching around multi-grade strategies. Being the only multi-grade school where you have multi-grades in one classroom, it's kind of hard to get PD from your colleagues on what to do and what is best practice in your classroom and what is most effective for instruction. And so she's going to be helping us do some research and find the best ways that we can do that with Orton Gillingham and also with Eureka Squared Math. It being a new program, we're just getting used to all of the new instructional methods and rediscovering the art of teaching in using multiple methods to get your point across. And so we're excited to have the Eureka coaches that are available to us to help with that, as well as our district coaches. Also, in the past 2 years, I think we spent a lot of time talking about our robotics program, how we have one-to-one robotics at LaGrange, and how starting in kindergarten, they're learning how to code. In my classroom, which is kindergarten, first grade, they teach robots how to do simple commands, change lights, talk, give simple commands, go through mazes. And that now we're learning about how we can have robots tell other robots to do different things through their coding programs, which is awesome. In the second, third grade room, they're running those same programs from kindergarten, first grade, while adding catapults, xylophones, and markers to the process, where they're tracing their steps in the mazes and drawing pictures with the robots. It's pretty cool. And then in the fourth, fifth, and sixth grade room, we have mapping drones. And so we have huge maps that we lay out in the gym, and the students have to code the drone where to fly. And then there's different QR codes over the map, and they have to code the QR codes to tell the drones what to do next. So it's really kind of cool, and it plays right into some of the career opportunities around. And it's really cool. We had some members come in from the military, and they talked to us about how they use drones, and it really got the kids excited about the things that they're learning in class. And I really specifically wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to be an in-class teacher as well as a principal. I don't think there's been a full-time on-campus principal at LaGrange since '92. And so it's really nice to be able to make decisions in the building where we're at and answer questions that teachers have right away. It's been interesting trying to work out that balance for myself in the room, but I'm learning, so be patient with me. And I'm excited that our whole school has been working on more community support, taking more pride in our local small school. One of the ways that we're doing that is by offering more parent communication. One of the apps that most of the schools use for parent communication is Band. Every 2 weeks, we're sending out progress monitoring reports to parents. We also have all of the notes that we're sending home on that as well, so parents can see everything that we're doing. And one of the other things that we do is every time we meet with parents, we have a carry-in dinner of some kind, along with our meeting and then our program. So we'd like to invite any of you who want to come on Thursday for our rescheduled Christmas program at 5:00 p.m. in the gym. We are having a carry-in with tailgating appetizers or desserts with an informal meeting to go over our school improvement plan, and then a 6 p.m. Christmas program. So we'd love to see you guys out if you can make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move down to letter D, the public forum portion of our meeting. Please keep in mind there's a 5-minute time limit, and make sure that in your comments you're not identifying any staff or students. So we'll start with Christy Green. Okay. Mr. Rod Wagner.
My name is Rod Wagner and I live in Lingle. I'm a former board member. And this was my turf when I went to high school, Torrington. And so what I come tonight to do is to encourage you. Mr. Kramer and Mr. Sussex and the rest of the board and the student representatives. I come to encourage you to keep doing what is right. Don't tire of doing what is right. Stick to it. And so the present I bring you is encouragement, but it comes from here. Can anyone guess what is in here? Without opening the package, you can't guess what's in there, can you? I'm lazy, so I do it the way my daughter and my granddaughter taught me how to do presents. I stick it in the sack. And that encouragement comes from here. God's word. I want you to understand that in the beginning, when schools were started in this country, they were started by Christians who came here, who founded this country, and the education was out of this book. They taught kids how to read, write, do arithmetic, and history out of this book. When they went home at night to do homework, it was done out of this book. Today, the courts have ruled that we have to throw this book out of our schools. The infallible word of God, the basis of everything, has been thrown out of our schools. How are kids supposed to learn? How are they supposed to learn wisdom and understanding? This book in Job 28:28 says, the fear of God is wisdom. Veiled evil is understanding. Unless our kids can understand and have wisdom, they can't succeed in this world. And so what I'm urging you guys to do is to keep doing what is right. Keep standing for what is right. We need to find a way to get this back in our schools. This is the perfect book. And so I don't know how you can do it. But please consider getting this book back in school. It also comes with a warning, this encouragement. In Mark 10, verse 14, Jesus has got sitting there and he says, bring the little kids to me so that I can lay my hands on them and bless them. For such is the kingdom of God. Unless you become like a little child, you can't enter my kingdom. And then in Luke 27:2, it says, beware, woe to you. It would be better for you to have a rope tied around your neck and a millstone attached to it, and you be thrown into the depths of the sea if you misguide one of these little ones. And so I come before you tonight telling you that we are responsible. If we don't guide these little ones, we are complicit. And we should have a rope tied around our neck and throw it into the depths of the sea. And I don't know how you guys swim. I swim like a rock. I don't need a millstone around my neck. I sink to the depths of the sea. So thank you.
Marie Flanagan.
Good evening, everybody. All right. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk because here's something I just have to tell you. My husband is terrified every time I come here because he's afraid he's going to be held accountable for something that we stand up for our family. Because you guys are a part of the choices. Every time I get up here in front of everybody here and everybody online, you all have a choice to come to the theater. And whatever I say here for my family affects me outside. Fair or not, it is what it is. We have a lot riding on so many things in this world. I have tried so hard to think and plan on what I was going to say, but I didn't have a plan. Because I felt like God needed to be in charge. It's just the way it is. I see you guys out in the community and I really enjoy seeing you guys. Like, I really do. I don't really hold ill will towards anybody. It's hard when you watch things happen. The things that we dealt with our family that never were taken care of. Nothing ever happened. That is tough, you guys. And then to watch my friends. My friend Christy, oh, I'm sorry, can you not hear me? Sorry. Oh, am I on? Okay, I'll just talk louder. Okay, then to watch my friends go through the exact same thing that I went through. The persecution. Things happening to our children that are not being taken care of, you guys. Where the law, to the letter of the law. I understand what you have is a lot. And I appreciate you guys for taking this on. But I hope you understand. When it comes to children who have things wrong with them, it's not their choice, but it is our choice as parents to stand up for them. And when we know when the law says you can't do it, we have to hold you accountable. Guys, it is ridiculous that what I went through is still happening. And when that happens, it's because people are not taking us seriously. And so then we have to have a lawsuit. That's not what I want. It's not what I want. But when our children are being sent to the district attorney because they're not being at school, that's not okay. That's not okay. And yet people in charge are still allowing it to happen. That's not okay, you guys. I shouldn't have to go to Goshen County attorney and fight for my kid. Other parents shouldn't either. And it's still happening today. Kids are being treated terribly today. It's hard to be the boss, but you guys are the boss. You are the boss. I hate when I have to make decisions for the theater. Number one, I didn't want to own the theater. I did not. It was something that we wanted to do for the community, just like you guys. You want to do this for the community. I have to make decisions that suck. I hate them, but I have to do them. In the grand scheme, it may make me look bad, but really, it's just to keep the theater open for the community. I understand there are some things you guys have to deal with. I get it. It's hard. It sucks. But we have to do this for our kids. That's why I run the theater. It's not for me. It's not for adults. It's for the kids. So they have a safe place to go. You guys, our leadership, if it's not doing what needs to be done, you're the boss. It's hard. We're not supposed to be friends. This is a business at this point. We shouldn't be friends. We have to do what's right. And then outside work, we can be friends. But inside business, sorry, but business is business and we've got to keep going. But when, things down are not happening, when you see kids having issues and their parents are desperately crying for help, you guys, please listen. I don't want this to happen to any more kids. Principals are not listening. Why? Why are they not listening? Is it time? Okay. You guys, I just hope that you take that seriously because it's affecting our kids today.
Danielle Murphy.
I just speak from here, some kind of box today. It's short. I would just like to express my full support in not renewing the contract with the superintendent.
Ms. Karen Poston.
Good evening, Superintendent Kramer and board members. And I want to thank you again for letting me address you this evening. I'm here to speak about the standards-based rating. I read articles both for and against it. I've talked to teachers and I have had Mr. Kramer explain some things to me. And of course, in the midst of doing all this, there are always two sides and there are pros and cons. As for my family, it has not been a good experience. The third of my children is in school now, and he was in 8th grade when we started. What's that? Easy. So the third of my children is in school now, and he was in 8th grade when we started with standards-based rating, and it was awful. Of course, everybody was learning. It was new. Nobody really understood it, but it was a horrible year. Prior to his 8th grade year, he had been on the bronze honor roll for 6th and 7th, and in 8th grade, it just went down. I mean, to the fact that, you know, he ended up in one of his classes getting a D, and I tried to reach out to the instructor or the teacher and never got anything back. And so then there was last year, and it seemed to go a little bit better. I still didn't understand, but I was beginning to know, okay, so, you know, they're going to start out low. Some start at C's, some start at F's, and then you just watch and it should go up and then it's going to go down, the ebb and the flow. I thought, okay, maybe I'm figuring this out. And then this year's been worse again. First of all, from the first 9 weeks, not having any idea where my child was and going to parent-teacher conferences and being like, oh boy, what am I in for? To finding out that, and I didn't realize this before, that the assignments really don't count, and the only way anybody's ever notified is if the student does badly, like, you know, has a low standards grade, then they go on the list and aren't able to participate. And then just even this last 9 weeks, I have no idea what to expect from his grades, just because I know that, okay, that it may look like one thing, but after his assessment, it could change. But even depending on what his assessment is, that people can be like, well, he really deserves his other grades. So it's so confusing. And I'm so glad that we did not have standards-based grading when my middle son was in school, because he had horrible test anxiety. He got almost straight A's. I think there was only 2 times throughout his career that his high school career here, that he had something else besides an A, but he had horrible test anxiety, and he got a lot was helped for him because he was able to get graded on some of his assignments. You know, even now into college, he's done well. He just graduated, but still that test anxiety has been something that has continued to plague him. And a lot of times it is his labs or his assignments, you know, that lift that test grade up. But primarily I'm here as a parent of a sophomore, because the concern I'm going to talk about is, how does standards-based grading prepare students for life after high school? Most graduating students are either going to attend a college, attend a trade school, enter the armed services, or enter the workforce. For those who will be attending college or trade school, the problem is pretty obvious. They're going from a grading system of no required graded assignments, allowable retakes, and to a structured grading system of each assignment counting, needing to be turned in, and one and done grades on assignments and exams with no retakes or redos allowed. While some students may adjust fine, I worry about a lot of the others, including my own son. Will this huge change lead to extra semesters while they figure out what they need to do to succeed? Will it lead to people dropping out of higher education altogether because some can't get it figured out? What about those entering the armed services? Is the military going to give them many chances to meet the requirements set for its recruits? For those entering the workforce, while there is an allowance for learning when a new job is started, not many jobs are going to allow you to continue to make mistakes and correct your errors time after time after time. And in closing, and this doesn't just pertain to standards-based grading, but I think it's important. I have to admit that every time I hear about a new program or a new curriculum that one of the schools is going to be implementing, my anxiety goes through the roof, even though my kids are now older. I have to admit, I do tend to resist change because I like the tried and the true. I like, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But I also am not against change. Some changes are for the best, and I think that some kids, they learn differently, and I think it's important to have other options. But we have to keep in mind that our kids aren't experiments. If we try something new for 1, 2, 3 or more years, and it isn't successful, that's 1, 2, 3 or more years of learning that they never get back. Sure, the kids might be really resilient, but if they miss something, it's really hard to get that back if they don't learn when they need to be. So I ask of all of you, when you think of implementing changes in Goshen County schools, please keep in mind that the years that you implement that, if it doesn't work, that the kids will never get that back again. So
That's time.
oh, I'm done. Perfect. Hey, thank you.
Mr. Joshua Kruger.
Dear board members, first off, I'd like to thank you for correcting the agenda tonight. I'd also like to thank you for taking up this important matter of the current grading system that is used in Goshen County School District. It is unfortunate that it's taken this long and jeopardized so many students' futures, but you can make a change starting tonight. When it comes to the current grading system that is used in Goshen County schools, there are some common things that are said about the grading system by those who are for it, and I would like to dismiss some of those now. One of the things that is said about the current grading system is that we just don't understand it, but that is not true. Lots of parents, myself included, have talked to teachers about our children's grades, just to have several teachers tell us something like, don't worry about the grade, it is just the way the grading system is, and the grade should go up. If most of the time at parent-teacher conferences, the teachers can't even tell us what the grade is, I would say that there is a problem with the grading system. Now, let's talk about the name of the current grading system, standards-based grading. Some that are for the grading system may think that we are not for teaching standards. And I can tell you that for me, and I believe most that are against this grading system, our problem is not with teaching standards. On the contrary, most of us, I feel very strongly that standards should be taught and graded. For example, 2 + 2 always equals 4, and that this great country was founded in 1776. So our problem is not with teaching of standards. Our problem is with how things are graded. This grading system has had several changes, and it is still very flawed. I don't understand, if you're trying to teach a student something, why you would not want that student or their parent of that student to know what they need to improve on. But yet this is happening when grades are hidden from the students and their parents for the first 9 weeks of a semester. Why would you hide something for almost half of a semester, then think that after the students and their parents find out halfway through the learning process that they can all of a sudden make major changes if needed? But to add to the confusion about what your students' grades are, even after you're allowed to see the grade, it can still be wrong, as it takes the latest grade for an assignment or common assessment, and that is the grade that is shown. So if your child misses the latest assignment, it will show that they are failing that class, even though that might not be the case. Now talking with the teachers, I was told that they have discretion to change the grade to what they truly believe the student is at. But again, talking with teachers, it sounds like they will reserve this action until the end of the semester. Because once they make that change, it locks in the grade for the rest of the semester. So once again, you truly don't know what your student's grade is until it is posted at the end. And that might not be so until the end of the semester. So when it is too late to make the necessary changes to bring up the grade. 10. Why can't we use a grading system that is similar to what a lot of colleges use that teach standards? Their grading system allows them to assign a percentage to each assignment/exam. And the grading system is also a cumulative system so that you are able to know what your grade is after every assignment or exam. This grading system also allows students to realize what they need to improve on since they are able to see their grade early on. I truly appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. I ask you to do what is right. Thank you very much.
Connie Kruger.
So the reason I wanted to address you tonight is on your current grading system. Some of you may not know this, but I am a licensed teacher in the state of Wyoming. I have a Title I reading endorsement. And if we lived in the state of North Dakota, I would have a math and STEM endorsement as well. As a teacher and parent, I struggle calling the system a standards-based grading system, as you can use almost any grading system and link standards to the grades, assignments, and assessments. As teachers, we are trained to teach the state standards, how to write a lesson plan and link the standards to that lesson, and how to assess that our students have learned the materials that are being taught. We have been taught to use a variety of methods in order to engage them in their learning. If you want to assess what a student knows before they begin or at the beginning of their learning that subject, then that is great, and you should. But you shouldn't be limiting how high that is assessed if you truly want to know where they're at. And that is definitely not a grade that should be posted in the grade book. Limiting students on how high they can be assessed throughout the learning process is not right. Not all students are the same. We should allow those students who can get an A or B to get an A or B right away. If they know that subject well, they should not be penalized. If they already know the information, then they should be challenged with something more. Students should be taught to strive to be the best that they can be. My student came home after parent-teacher conferences in tears. She's an athlete and was gone to a state event. That event happened to be a few days before the end of quarter, so she happened to miss a few assignments. Do you think missing a few assignments would be a big problem? I didn't think so as long as she made it up. Well, the way it happened, she ended up with an F because of one missing assignment. Why? Because the way the new system is working is taking the most recent grade. Not an average of the 3s or the 3.5s that she had on all the previous assignments, but an F because she happened to have a missing assignment from being gone at a school activity. Do you know how discouraging that is for our students? Do you realize she works hard to make sure all of her assignments are done and done well? Then after the conference, the parent-teacher conference, she asked us why. Why do I work so hard? Why does it matter? If that is what is going to happen, why? At this point, what are you teaching our kids? Well, this system and way of thinking is teaching our students to not set goals. You don't have to work hard as it doesn't pay off, and that it doesn't matter, I can retake. Don't use your brain, just do what you're told. This is what this system is teaching our children. Teachers should not have to take their entire parent-teacher conferences to explain a grading system. They should not have to explain to parents whose children are doing well that your child really isn't failing. It's just the way the grading system works. We ask, what does my child need to work on? How can we help her? The response is always the same. She's doing great. I'm not worried about her. Then why does it look like she's failing? Then the entire conference is spent explaining why it looks like she's failing when she really isn't. This hasn't been happening for all of our kids since this started. I wanted to spend my time helping the teacher, supporting them and teaching my child, not wasting both of our times and explaining why it looks like she's failing, but she really isn't. If we were to bring in college professors and college administrators, can you explain to them why it looks like a kid is failing and they aren't? This is not teaching them skills to be ready for life after high school or to be ready for college. I have talked to parents of students who have recently graduated from the school district and they are struggling. Why would you continue with a system that is failing our students? After doing some research, the standards-based system is something that people on the East Coast are trying to push. There are a few districts in the state of Wyoming that are using the system, and after talking to a teacher that used to work for one of them, she absolutely hated using it. This is a similar reaction I have received from many of our own teachers within the district. When talking to teachers, I have found more against the system than are for it. So why do we continue to use it? Your students, teachers, and parents have all come to you telling you how frustrating this grading system is, and yet you continue to ignore the plea of those who you are serving. Our goal in this district should be to teach and train our students to be the best that they can be. You should not be hiding grades and progress from students and parents. We should be working together in a partnership, helping and supporting one another. As parents, our goal is to support both teachers and students in the learning process, not be pitted against one another. If you want unity in all facets, start listening and taking action on what everyone is telling you. That is your duty. I'm sorry, but if most of your students, staff, and parents are telling you that this is a horrible system, maybe you should start listening, as they are the ones you are serving.
Rebecca Cohorn.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, tonight I'd like to address standards-based grading. This system implements SWOT analysis, goal setting, self-evaluation, and self-motivation. Every highly successful individual and business uses these concepts. These are important life skills. The problem is the only place this process occurs is on paper. And that makes it no better than toilet paper. In order for standards-based grading to be effective, it must be implemented as it was designed. And there must be no discrepancies between classes, teachers, or buildings. Are the steps teach, quiz, self-evaluate, goal setting, and test being implemented in every class, everywhere? No, they are not. While I can see that teach and quiz are being performed, goal setting, self-evaluation absolutely do not happen. Not once has a teacher discussed self-evaluation in any of my 4 children's high school career. Not once have I seen a goal-setting paper, even one that has been at the bottom of my son's locker. I cannot, in fact, most of the time, students and parents cannot get an answer to the basic question, what is their grade? How can students self-evaluate or set goals when no one knows how they performed? Even the teachers report not knowing the grade. Now that's a big steaming pile of guano. Administration concluded that teachers need to be trained on how to correctly implement standards-based grading. Shouldn't this have been done 7 years ago when it was implemented? Now, you not only have 7 years of bad habits that your teachers have picked up, you have some teachers who have told parents that they don't need to follow the standards-based grading because they aren't certified staff. What? You have non-certified staff teaching students who have not been properly trained on the grading system, openly displaying insubordination of superiors to parents. What a pile of elephant apples. For those parents struggling with standards-based grading and its frustrations, a recent article in the local paper had the appearance of someone sticking a flower in a pile of manure and calling it something it wasn't. The fact that the superintendent and other administration claims that multiple test taking isn't happening and standards-based grading is working doesn't make them right and parents wrong. Instead, it reveals a disconnect between leadership and teachers. It points to the source of all the stinking brown stuff. The board has 2 options. One, they can use this toilet paper to try to clean up the mess and continue the farce that standards-based grading is working. Or two, you can get the shovel and take the steaming, stinky pile and put it where it belongs.
Alicia Divins. So on this one, you have grievance, if it's anything related to any staff or any students, anything.
I won't go into any specific
Then
detail
we
with that.
need to go to the executive session to hear you, if
Okay.
it's anything.
It'll be fine, I promise. So I am here this evening. This is my first meeting I've ever attended. I'm actually from South Bend, Indiana originally, which is poverty stricken. And we as a family were very excited to move to this town. What I have found though is that I'm very disappointed in the way that the leadership is here. I'm not impressed. I have had my children coming home stating teachers are calling them stupid. Now, I understand kids are gonna be kids. I even said it before, I hated this teacher. However, when it's becoming to the point that my children, I am literally having to force my children to get out of bed to go to school, that's a problem. Children should be excited to go to school every single day. My question is I have done my own little bit of research and I want to know why we have at least one suicide per school year. Where's the mental health resources? Because what I have found is that who my children should go to for counseling as a counselor, I'm not stating any names. Why are they being interrogated? Why are they being asked the same questions? What started off as just a please, fill out this form for Christmas list. Just do little things for the families. Nothing bad, right? Until my daughter had just made one comment of, I just want to see my mom smile. Everybody wants their kids want to see their parents happy regardless. That doesn't make me depressed, it don't make me stressed. However, why is my child being interrogated, removed from classrooms to be interrogated by that? When I've stated multiple times, I don't want my child to be questioned without me, the legal guardian. I'm okay with my daughter seeing the behavioral interventionist because there is a safe place there. All children should feel safe in a school. If they have a mentor, we should be celebrating that. We should not be sitting here saying, nope, not allowed to go in there because I said so. Why? Why am I not being informed? Why am I not getting calls from the school? There's no communication. And my kids have been in some pretty terrible schools, and I was very proud to say my children are here in Torrington. But I have not found anything great yet. My child is coming home depressed. My child is coming home triggered. Because when there are children that are traumatized, that have had children, like when they were bringing up and there's trauma there, we need to be careful how we're talking to these children. We need to be careful how we're asking them questions, because that is a trigger. So when you're making them feel like, well, I'm worried about you, and you want an answer, you can't do that to a child that's traumatized. That has trauma. That is a trigger. You need to be respectful. You need to understand that when they say, I don't want to talk to you, back off. Let that child talk to who she needs to talk to, or he. I'm not impressed with the way that it seems that the communication with leadership and teachers there's a big gap there. Teachers are afraid to speak out. Why? Why are they afraid of the leadership? And I'm going to talk to you. I've sat here and I've watched your reaction. Just like any child, they're going to look at you as that leader. They're going to look at our teachers as those leaders. But with your reaction on your face, that's gonna take and quiet that student.
Stevens. I'm gonna have to slow you up there from identifying anybody.
Okay. Am I okay to keep going? I'm trying to be respectful. I'm concerned about these children's mental health. At the end of the day, that's what's important. I understand this education is huge, but mental health is too, and there's no resources in the school because of all the teachers are bickering. All the leadership that should be there is not there. And that is very worrisome to me because I don't want to see another child lose their life. I don't want another child to be triggered, and I want to see that all students succeed. I want them to feel safe going to school, but they're not. And I feel that that's something that needs to be brought up. I feel that the leadership is not there at all. And I think we need to change that. That's it.
Okay, I'll move down to letter E, recommended actions. Number one, consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any members wish to pull?
I have a question on one. If we could, please, Chairman Sussex. I was looking at excuse me. I was looking at D, the WDE grant activity as required by the CLSD WYO built grant. Is that like a state grant, or I was wondering if you could explain this thing to me?
Man, sure. Yes, that's the literacy grant. The state literacy grant that we've received.
Okay, is that state that you said?
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me?
It is also followed up with a federally funded grant. It's divvied out by the state, but is a federal fund grant. Mr. Fuller, do you want to speak in more specifically to that?
Certainly. What happens, the federal government has a large pot of money that they hand out to states each year on a competitive grant basis. The state of Wyoming got this grant 4 years ago. They got this grant to help improve literacy initiatives for students throughout the state. And so we took the opportunity to apply for this last year. And to do so, we had to come up with a plan of how we would positively impact literacy instruction for all of our students, K through 12, and also come up with a way to impact literacy instruction for pre-kindergarten students. In other words, students that hadn't even entered our system yet. And so one of the pieces to that grant is that a company called Marzano Research comes in once a year and they evaluate how well we are meeting the goals we set for ourselves in that grant. And the money to pay for that was actually then added to the amount of grant that was awarded to our account. And so this particular grant, next month, you're going to hear from the early literacy teachers who are going out and providing literacy instruction to any pre-K and daycare facility in the county that wanted to participate with us. It also takes care of everything we've been doing with Orton Gillingham this year, which you heard Mr. Daly talk about a little bit earlier. It also paid for the literacy facilitators that we hired for this year to help support and coach our staff on how to become better teachers of reading and writing and all the components that go with literacy. And so that has impacts all the way from grades K through 12.
Do you know exactly how much that grant was?
There were two parts to it. We got what was called a mini grant, which was about 1.2 million. And then that was for a shorter period of time, which has since been extended through the end of 2025 now. And then the second part of it, we got about 2.6 million.
Okay.
Mr. Fuller, who assigns Marzano Research? Is that a state?
That was the state who made that decision. They, according to the terms of the grant they got from the federal government, they have to hire somebody to come out, and it's basically like a quality check. It'd be similar to, you know, how the state comes out and accredits school districts. In this case, the state decides who they're going to hire to come out and check to make sure we are doing what we said we would in the grant, that what we're doing is effective and that we're seeing results from it.
Okay, thank you.
I guess the main reason we were probably asking about Marzano research is I did some research. And it said their commitment is to racial equity and social justice. And so just because of that, it says they're a research company of inclusion. We stand firmly in support of all colleagues, partners, and historically underserved communities. We stand against inequality, racism, and discrimination of all kinds. It goes into about every student and every family have the right to high quality education. Education that is free from violence and discrimination. Prepares them to soar, to see where there's no barriers and such. The reason I was asking about that, it sounds a lot like CRT, so that's why it was my concern.
So do you want to pull it from the consent agenda so we can vote on it separately, Mr. Alexander?
That would be nice. If we
So you want to pull that?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda with letter D pulled.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted one question on the revenue, monthly revenue. Under the revenue compensation for loss of capital assets.
Hey, Bob, if you want more discussion, you can pull it.
Okay, that'd be fine.
You want to pull it? What letter would you like to pull?
It's not on the letter pull, it's on the monthly bills and receipts.
Approved monthly bills?
Yes,
So you want to pull that?
yes.
Okay, are there any other items on the consent agenda that any board member wishes to pull? Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda without letter B and letter D?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda minus letter B and letter D, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So now we will go to letter B, approve the monthly bills.
Yes, my only question was on the revenue, number 85,320, compensation for loss of capital assets of $2 million. Is that from the Southeast High School insurance? That's what my question.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I believe you're referencing the monthly board review of revenues and expenditures.
Yes.
That that compensation for loss of capital assets, that's insurance proceeds. And 2 million was budgeted, and thus far this year we've received 794,000.
But is that for the loss? My question is that for the loss of Southeast on the building? On the
Yes,
insurance?
yes.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Insurance proceeds.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the monthly bills?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion other than what we've had? Okay. All those in favor of approving the monthly bills, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so now we'll move back down to letter D, which is approve the purchase exceeding $5,000 for contracting with Marzano Research LLC in the total amount of $6,480 for annual review of the WDE grant activity as a requirement of the CLSD Y-Build grant. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve this item.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I was just hoping to get some more clarification of where that money was actually going and what it was using, what we were teaching with that. That's what I wanted more of a description on, because of what this company who's doing the approving of how we're spending it, it seems like they're more worried about racial equity and social justice than I'm wondering if that's what we're using that money for is to teach that stuff.
Chair, if I may. Members of the board, this actually Marzano Research LLC, as description is the annual review of the grant activity. So they will be contracting and actually conducting research based on the data from the literacy grant. There is no instructional materials that are provided by Robert Marzano. Marzano, if you look at it, provides most of the instructional materials in relation to instruction or administration. There's an extensive number of items. Usually, if you look up Marzano, Amazon and books and related trainings that accompany this expenditure for $6,480 is an expenditure specifically related to the literacy grant and the analyzation of that grant related to the outcomes for the testing. If I'm correct, Mr. Fuller, if I'm incorrect, please correct me at this time.
No, that's correct. The only thing that they are contracted to do is determine if we are meeting our goals in the literacy grant in terms of, are we improving our literacy instruction for kids? In other words, are we improving our students' abilities in reading and writing and other language arts areas? And if we are, what that data shows. If we're not, what that data shows. So that's the only thing they're evaluating is how we're doing on those goals. And there are no social emotional goals or any kind of social emotional learning going on as part of that grant. In fact, we have to be really careful, you know, like our 3 facilitators that were hired, that the 2 K through 6 or K through 5 and 6 through 12 facilitator and our Oregon Gillingham coach, they actually have to be really careful with their time and not be focusing on any other type of activity other than literacy, you know, reading, language arts, those kinds of things, because otherwise then we'd be violating the conditions of that grant.
Thank you. That's what I was wondering is if they were what they were looking at. So that's what I was curious about. Thank you.
Yeah, that's something that we made very clear to all of them and the staff that their area of expertise is in literacy. And that's the only area they're really that their activities are really allowed to address.
Okay, all those in favor of purchasing or contracting with Marzano Research LLC in the total amount of $6,480 for the annual review of the WD grant activity, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? And it carries. Now we'll move to new business. Letter A. Consider approval of offering a contract to Ryan Kramer as superintendent of Goshen County School District number 1. The recommendation is to approve offering a contract to Mr. Kramer for the 23-24 and 24-25 school years. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Kramer, I motion that we table this Mr. Kramer, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, you guys sit too close together. I make a motion, we table this to the March 7th meeting.
Okay, it's been moved that we table this to the March 7th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we table this till March 7th. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of tabling this item to the March 7th meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Okay, item carries. Letter B is consider approval of establishing a secondary 6-12 grading and report card committee. The recommendation is to approve the establishment of a committee to frame the secondary grading and report card expectations for the 23-24 school year and report back to the Board of Trustees. This committee will consist of 3 board members, 3 secondary parents, 2 secondary teachers, and 1 secondary school administrator. Teachers, administrator, and parent representatives will rotate with each committee meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moves.
Is there a second? I will second it. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to see this recommendation be tabled also until after we have an opportunity to listen to Agenda C from Mr. Josh Kruger. I would like to have a table to at least down to look behind letter F, if that's possible.
So the big thing with this is, regardless of whether we get rid of standards-based grading, we're gonna have to replace it with something. So that's the whole reason behind the formation of this committee. So that would be the reason behind the formation of the committee.
I was just wondering about the representatives rotating each meeting, each committee meeting. Aren't you gonna lose some knowledge of the people that did a bunch of investigating or looking into things when you take them out and a new set come in?
Mr. Chair, if I may
Yep.
address that. That was as a suggestion from trustee Peterson to add that portion into the recommendation in our conversation on last week.
Three-way conversation. Three-way conversation on the agenda, you said, and Mr. Sussex and Mrs. Sherry and you had come up with the idea that if we had to this committee, I said that would be fine, but we're putting the cart before the horse because we haven't voted on standard-based grading yet. And I repeated again, I gave you this copy of the motion that I made at the February 12th meeting. And none of that was included in there. So, other than that, either table it or just remove it until we get the standard-based grading done. But no, that wasn't the statement I made. And I specifically asked that you include this motion in that I made at the February 12th meeting that I got interrupted and wasn't a point of order and called for a second.
So, Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
if we struck the teacher, administrator, and parent representative to rotate off of there and we just keep it the same, does that affect anything?
Well, I was just wondering why that was put in there. I thought we would just lose knowledge when we removed those people and the set came in, it'd be like starting all over again. And this has already been, I think it'd be just drug out and nothing would be accomplished.
Sure. So the intention was coming up with a system to replace standards-based grading, potentially replace standards-based grading. And that way we knew what direction we were heading. When and if we got rid of standards-based grading, that was going to be addressed potentially at the March meeting. So, but we have a motion and a second on this, and we, like I say, we still have to come up with something in order to replace it with. So we still need a committee or some way of figuring out how we're going to do our grading from the state forward or from this vote forward. So. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of establishing a secondary 6-12 grading and report card committee, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. Any abstentions? Item fails. Okay. Letter C is standards-based grading. I guess we're voting whether or not to continue on with standards-based grading. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we remove standard-based grading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion
Effective
at the end of the school
at the
year?
end of the school year.
Okay, so I will need to amend the motion to basically state in standards-based grading will end at the end of the 23 school year.
Yes. Do you need a motion or motion on that or a second or anything?
Yeah,
Are you making the motion or?
no,
I make a motion that the standard-based grading be removed at the end of the 23 school year.
okay,
A second.
okay. Any other discussion?
I have concerns moving forward in this manner, not having a plan to replace standards-based grading. I also think it's a little bit of a concern. It was mentioned that we're using kids as guinea pigs. So if we wipe all of the work and the progress that has been done with standards-based grading away, are we going to be doing guinea pigs all over and just starting that process over without a solid plan moving forward is my concern.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I would propose for future knowledge, future reference, that we go back to a percentage-based grading system. As it was in the past, where homework counts, assignments counts, quizzes counts, projects, papers, everything that counts in some form or fashion, along with the testing to the grade.
And it is my understanding that if we do not do standards-based grading anymore, there will need to be some policy changes as well.
Significant, and also we don't have a plan for a system. Is that going to be part of the motion? What I guess is in the motion, what is discussion, what is ideas related to conversation around this and what?
So that part, we're in the discussion phase of it. So what Mr. Hurley just said would be part of the discussion phase. Am I correct?
So it would just be a single board member having that request, because there's no other motion with that, so there'll be nothing following other than a single member of a 9-member board making that statement. So, okay.
Unless you added it to your motion.
So we've had the motion and it's been seconded and we're in the discussion phase.
Okay.
So
Do we need to amend that motion then?
so you want to make the motion.
I'm asking a question. If that was what we would need to do to add that to it, or we make that a separate motion.
So you need to vote on the motion on the floor, then make another
Motion. Okay. So the motion on the floor is to effectively eliminate standards-based grading at the end of the 23 school year. All those in favor of eliminating standards-based grading at the end of the school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I
Aye. Any abstentions? Okay. So now we will move on to, are you making a motion? Go back to,
can we do that since it wasn't added to the agenda?
it's on the agenda, okay, we'll have to revisit that at a future meeting. Okay. We will now go down to letter D. Consider acceptance of certified staff resignation. The recommendation is to accept the resignation submitted by school psychologist Mary Smock, effective at the end of the 22-23 school year. Do I have a motion?
I so moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the resignation of submitted by school psychologist Mary Smock, effective the end of the 22-23 school year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Letter E, consider approval of change order submitted for air compressor and electrical service modifications to the new Southeast Ag Shop. The recommendation is to approve the change order submitted by Goshen County Construction LLC for the air compressor in the Southeast Ag Shop in the total amount. Oh, I skipped copy paper, I apologize. Letter E would be consider approval of district copy paper purchase. Recommendation is to approve the purchase of 840 cases of district copy paper from Staples in the total amount of $27,711.60. This is funded through the general fund. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of purchasing 840 cases of district copy paper from Staples in the total amount of $27,711.60, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Okay. Letter F, consider approval of a change order submitted for air compressor and electrical service modifications to the new Southeast Ag Shop. The recommendation is to approve the change order submitted by Goshen County Construction LLC for the air compressor in the Southeast Ag Shop in the total amount of $94,066.00, with $3,348 for the air compressor funded by insurance and $90,718 for the electrical service modifications funded by major maintenance. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion?
I just like to add that we were out there and looked at it with the contractor and everything, and it is something that needs to be upgraded to for the building and the new addition to the building that's going to be replaced.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the change order submitted for air compressor and electrical service modifications to the new Southeast Ag Shop by Goshen County Construction LLC in the amount of $94,066, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Letter F, consider approval of updated Goshen County School District Number 1 Smart Start Plan as required for program compliance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the updated Goshen County School District Smart Start Plan as required for program compliance, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carried. Okay, letter 3 is topics for discussion. This is a time for board members to seek input from each other on timely topics. Anybody have anything?
I would like to suggest an agenda item
Okay, for
next month's meeting.
okay,
I'd like to suggest that we replace standard-based grading with a percentage-based grading system, which includes homeworks, tests, quizzes, assignments, papers, and a cumulative grade per semester per year.
When you reference cumulative grade, what do you mean there?
It, everything adds to it
For the semester grade or for the final grade?
for the semester and the year.
So then there would be a semester grade and then we'll couple along with another second semester grade to create a final grade.
Correct. Let me rephrase that. It's a cumulative grade that goes throughout the year is what I mean. It builds on itself. How does?
any other discussion? Okay. So letter F, future meetings. There will be a special meeting to hold the board work session on Tuesday, January 17th at 6 p.m. for board member and leadership governance training with Dr. Rob Kessler. Number 2, the input hearings for public comment on proposed alternative calendars for the 23-24 school year have been scheduled for Thursday, January 19th and Thursday, February 9th. Both hearings will be at the Torrington High School auditorium from 7 to 9 p.m. Number 3, the WSBA will be offering their winter board development workshops on Saturday, January 28th, 23 at the Casper Ramcota. Please let Lorraine know if you plan to attend. Number 4 is the 2023 annual legislative forum hosted by WSBA and WASA. It'll be held at the Little American Cheyenne, February 5th and 6th. Once again, please let Lorraine know if you plan to attend. The next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, February 14th at 7. The dates for the March 23 and April 23 board meetings were rescheduled in June due to upcoming school closures and billing documents needed for the board agendas. So the March board meeting will be on Tuesday, March 7th at 7 p.m. And the April board meeting will be on Tuesday, April 4th at 7 p.m. And with that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
couple of items, and I have to do some additions to the ones that I have also listed there, but they'll be relatively short. In relation to the student enrollment numbers, pull those up and get those on the screen. We were very similar to what was previously in previous months. As you can see, the enrollment total for the district, 1,635. This column right here is G is the previous month. So that was the November average daily membership. This is the December. As you can see, it went down 5 students. You might ask, did we lose 5 students? It also has a correlation to attendance. And that's why, again, we talk about daily average attendance and the importance of attendance as it relates directly to our funding. So if students were absent at a higher rate than they were in previous months, that can affect the average daily membership number as it did. Then we did have some move in and move outs, but it was relatively minimal. As you can kind of see, we are still dramatically up from the previous school year. Then if I move on to the next one, the rec board vacancy. We do have currently, it is a 5-member board. We currently have Trustee Hager, Trustee Saucedo sitting on that board. And then we have our community member, Steve Fagler. We do have openings for a board member. If you are interested in serving on that recreation board, please contact Chairman Sussex in regards to your interest. That will be appointed at the February board meeting. Also, we have an opening for a community member on that board. We have advertised for that board member vacancy, and the 3 members of that board will have an interview process to interview the candidates from the community, and then we'll come with a recommendation in February to appoint to that board. They actually, what their responsibility is to spend the 1 mil levy that is approved by the board each June related to recreational activities in the Goshen County School District. Then also on number 3, I was approached by a community member prior to about early fall, and this has been something that he and I have talked about. Currently, our school attendance boundaries, they were last reviewed in 2010. At that time, there was a request to kind of modify the boundaries related to the development in the Southern Hills Estates, as that school boundary is bisected in that group. This actually doesn't apply. We have a number of areas across the district, mostly found in that southeast Torrington area, where some sections are bisected by the attendance area. I am looking for a couple of board members to review the current boundaries. I would not be recommending drastic changes to this, but there may be a possibility of recommending changes where a section is bisected rather than staying with the section lines to make it more appropriate to what we're seeing. I would not look for drastic changes due to the fact that enrollment is stable at all 3 enrollment centers. And if we were to make drastic changes in that, that would be very difficult to kind of get set up. But I'm looking for a couple of board members to sit and review that with the transportation director and myself related to those current school boundaries. So if you have an interest in that, please feel free to email me or contact me. The other items that I have, one, a book study is being offered at the state level. I'm going to share this also. The superintendent from Plat 1 has reached out to superintendents across the state to participate in a joint book study where it would be taking place via Zoom. They're looking to get started in the timeframe February through March. In this format, there would be instructors related to the activity. The book would be the School Board Members Guidebook, Becoming a Difference Maker for Your District, written by Ryan Donelan and Todd Whitaker. You may hear Todd Whitaker. His name is quite prevalent across education backgrounds, especially for school districts. I will be participating in this book study, and if any other board members or the entire board would like to participate in this book study, we can make arrangements for that. We would also then purchase the book through the school district if there's an interest. So please, again, let me know if you have an interest in participating in the book study. It would be an opportunity to participate with other board members across the state. So a very exciting opportunity. Then the last one that I have, and then I'm going to have Marcy address some of the things from some events over the break. I would like at least most likely 4 volunteers for being on the THS Principal Interview Committee. We're going to be starting our process to reduce the number of, pare down our number of applicants. We've had a very good pool come in recently that I think we can get this process started. And I'd like those board members to work on reviewing the applications and the process for a preliminary interview process, and then bring those individuals in for face-to-face interviews. Also, if there's interest from parents of THS students, either current or future, that would like to be a part of the parent committee, I would encourage them to either reach out to me via email or a phone call just to get on that list so I can keep them updated on this process if they have interest in participating on that committee. The last item that I have a part of my report, I'm going to turn over to Marcy regarding some water damage that we experienced during the very cold weather snap we had on Christmas break.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer, members of the board. Mr. Kramer asked that I just share with you. I don't know if the community is aware or not. Over Christmas break, we did have 2 buildings that sustained some damage due to the cold temperatures, and some water pipes that froze and then broke. Those 2 schools were Lingo Fort Laramie and Torrington High School. The science room, storeroom at Lingo Fort Laramie High School had some significant damage. We have had an air quality person there today taking some air samples, ensuring that we're taking care of the situation. Fisher Restoration has been brought in. Dehumidifiers are to arrive tomorrow, and we'll be looking at remediation, having to cut up as far as the sheetrock got wet, and then from there we'll be applying antimicrobial and ensuring that any insulation that got wet is removed, etc. But that covered a span of about 3 classrooms, a hallway, and a little bit of water into the library. So that one was pretty substantial. The Lingo Fort Laramie concessions building had a similar situation, and in there we have some laminate on some cabinetry that will need to be replaced. At Torrington High School, the special ed little lighthouse had some pipes break there as well. We have some water damage that will be taken care of there, and then the soccer field at Torrington High School, the restroom there had the same situation. So it was unfortunate. We thought we had temperatures increased in the heating systems, but for whatever reason, those 4 spaces did incur some damage. Insurance is being consulted with, and you'll be kept in the loop as we work through remediation and repair.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we're adjourned.